Welcome to Faith at Work, the podcast where we inspire and equip professionals to live out their Christian faith in the workforce. Whether you're navigating leadership, balancing work-life challenges, or looking to make a deeper impact, we're here to equip and guide you on how to bring your faith into work. Now here's your host, the director of the Unity Foundation in Alexandria, Minnesota, Kelsi Tim.
Today's conversation is one I think every leader and honestly every one of us needs. Our culture often celebrates confidence, ambition, visibility, and climbing the ladder. But what if one of the most powerful leadership qualities is actually humility? Joining me today is Craig Olson, Market President and Vice President of Business Banking at Old National Bank. Craig brings years of leadership experience in the business world, and today we're talking about what humility actually looks like in the workplace, why it matters, and how it can transform leadership, team culture, and relationships. So, Craig, welcome to the Faith at Work podcast.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
Yes. So, Craig, when you hear the word humility, what comes to mind?
So, I guess this time I want to start by just saying, a good friend of mine, Lee Backus, gave me a book. And at the front of this book, the introduction talks, and I'm going to read this so I don't get it wrong. If someone presumes to have something to say about humility, I automatically think him unqualified to speak on the subject. So let me say that I am unqualified to speak on this subject. I would be one of those that would be, but humility it's a topic that has often fascinated me. I'm drawn to it. It's one of the values that I find and hold dear to my heart. So although anybody maybe isn't qualified to talk on this topic, it certainly is something that I think every one of us need to be aware of and have part of our life. So I just love the topic. So that's why it's the one I wanted to speak on.
Well, and like you said, it's something that you want to embody and you want to be a person of humility. And so I think having these conversations is part of us stepping into that. And I love that Lee finally got you that book because he's been teasing. He's like, "Oh, I'm giving Craig a book about humility."
He did. He gave it to me. I've had it for a while. I've had it for about a month now. And so I've read through the book, and that was one of the things that, this guy's absolutely right. I mean, nobody's an expert on this. Nobody has it dialed in where they have humility that they can walk in every day. But it certainly is an important topic for all of us to be aware of.
It is. And Jesus is the one that obviously exemplified that the best. And we're becoming more like him every single day. So it is important to talk about.
Yeah.
So, Craig, has humility always come naturally for you, or has it been something God has developed over time?
I think it's a constant process. It's not something that comes naturally to people. I think, especially in today's society, it's almost the opposite. Everybody is drawn to self-promotion and self-indulgences and things like that. And humility doesn't come naturally to us. It's much more of a pride. And in reading the book, one of the things it says is pride and humility cannot coexist. And so when you think of humility, you can't help but think of pride, the opposite of it, right?
Right.
And so, no, it's not something that comes naturally to me. It's something that you continue to work on every single day. And in one of the books that I've read, there was a quote that said, humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less, which I think it's a great, I love that phrase because it's so true. So many people devalue themselves thinking that's humility, and that's not what humility is. Humility is when I think of humility means basically that you're giving all grace to God. We've all been given gifts. We all should be proud of the gifts that we have. But it's understanding where those gifts come from. And those gifts come from God. In giving true grace and true honor and everything to God, giving it to him, that's where humility comes from.
Yep.
That's what humility means.
I think sometimes we can get stuck in that like false pride.
Correct.
Where it's, like what you were saying, like, oh, the oh no, it's kind of a woe is me attitude or like a victim mentality.
Yes.
And that's not humility.
No.
It's still a form of pride. There's just a spectrum of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tend to be self-deprecating a lot where I do that. But that to me, that's not humility. That's not what true humility. Humility is understanding God's purpose in your life, who he is in your life. He's number one.
Right.
There's
And
no
if we're being critical of ourselves, then we're not coming into alignment with who God says we are.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
And I struggle with being very judgmental of myself.
Yeah.
And like we're all our greatest critics, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
But my thoughts need to come into alignment with Christ. And so if I'm not speaking what he says about me, then I need to do some course correcting.
Correct. It's so true. And we should be proud of the gifts that we have. And again, it's when you turn that over to God and give him all the glory for it, that's where it's all driven from. And it's hard. It's hard not to, like you said, we're our own worst critics sometimes.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be.
Craig, was there a leadership experience that taught you the importance of humility?
Yeah, there's no one leadership thing. It's been a constantly evolving thing throughout my whole life, where I've had leaders on both sides of the spectrum, where you've had some that are truly humble and some that are, more self-facing, where it's really them and getting them ahead and doing things like that. So I've always been drawn to and I think most of us are drawn to humble people that you can just see resemble and wear humility and are just, it's not about them. It's about everybody around them. It's about servant leadership, right? It's truly about bringing other people along and coming alongside people and helping them get to where they need to be, because it's about them. It's not about you. Yeah. So those are the leaders that I'm totally drawn to all the time. Yeah.
It is like I'm thinking of all the different people that I've worked through over the years, and I'm like, yep. There's been just a couple that I've really have been drawn to because of their humility, and there's been more on the other side. But yeah, it's a good self-reflection, or maybe if you're not sure, ask. If you want to actually know the truth, ask your family first, but then ask coworkers, like, how do you experience me? Yeah.
That is true. That is a great way to look at it. I love that. And a lot of times the leaders aren't necessarily your boss that you look to that carry those characteristics. It can be other people we're all leaders, right? In any organization, we're all leaders in our own right. Yep. So a lot of times it can be a peer that you just look to and for that leadership style that you just absolutely are drawn to. But I like that. I like the ask your family first. I agree. And then go.
They see the true colors,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. They'll tell you. Then you can decide whether you want to ask the next level or not.
But maybe you present better at work than you do at home. I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
More than likely you do.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
How would you define humility in the workplace and what it is not?
Humility in the workplace is, it's really, to me, it's being a leader that, again, it kind of goes back to that servant leadership. God makes it very clear. I'm not here to be served. I'm here to serve. And so that's truly what humility in the workplace means. And understanding that you're here to serve others. I mean, our sole purpose on earth, in my opinion, is to get others to heaven, right? That's really the purpose. That's why we're here. So if you're not helping other people towards that goal, and with the understanding that it's the grace of God that helps us get to that goal, that's what humility in the workplace looks like to me. That's where it's driven from.
What's the difference between confidence rooted in identity versus pride rooted in ego?
Confidence rooted in identity is it's you know who you are. You're confident in who you are. You're confident in the skills that God has given you. Pride rooted in ego is almost the opposite of that. It's a lack of confidence in yourself. Pride isn't driven from from you liking who you are. And it's really, pride is driven from weakness. It's driven from, you're just insecurities. That's where pride is driven from.
Yep.
And so confidence in yourself is, again, the opposite of that. So,
Yep. That's really good. So Craig, what does humility actually look like in leadership, especially in a corporate environment?
Humility in a corporate, it's a tough one to answer. I got to think about that one a second. Because I don't think there's a difference between a work environment versus a corporate environment versus this. You get bigger and there's hierarchies, but you can see, I guess in a more corporate environment, for lack of a better term, you can see pride more often. It's easier to spot pride right away because those leaders, those people with that, have a lot of pride to them, they tend to lead up. And by lead up, I mean they're there to impress the next level of bosses and lead up and lead that way, where they're just trying to get to the next level. They don't lead down and again, serve others. They're there to serve up and, hey, what can you do to make me look good so I can look good to the next level? So that's the difference. And I think in a bigger corporate environment, you become more aware of that. You see that more. Yeah.
So you're obviously in a position of where you're probably hiring people and maybe firing people, or you're helping people get to the next level. And so, I think we're pretty ambitious when we're starting out in our career or at least, I mean, my mindset was like, I'm going to conquer the world, right?
Yeah.
We're going to climb that corporate ladder.
Yep.
So how would you encourage some young professional that maybe has that mindset, which is, it's not a bad thing to want to do well in your job, but to help combat pride, because that can creep in versus having more of the servant leadership mindset? How would you encourage somebody, a young professional?
It's really, it brings you into more of a mentoring thing, right? Cook's correct. Early on in my career, I guarantee I had that. I had the mentality where I just want to keep climbing. And I guarantee at that point in my life, I would have let up. I would have been looking to the next level. How do I impress the next guy up? Not thinking necessarily about my peers, just how do I move ahead? So for me, and I do this, I find myself doing this today with some of the young leaders inside of the organization that I work for, is coming alongside them and just coaching them on things. And little things that I see, I encourage them to think not of themselves, but think of everybody else that you're helping and how it works within your organization and works with your peers, and how to work with them and help them get along instead of, just trying to step to the next level and get the next thing done. It's really looking outside yourself and how do you help others? Because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can describe this, but can you describe what it feels like when you are partnered with climbing the ladder? You're in it for yourself versus to where you are. I mean, you've been in this for a while now. Yeah, but you can feel it internally from numero uno versus a team mentality.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, and you won't know it till you know it, unfortunately, right? You're not going to know it until you're actually living it and walking it. But when you're walking it, there's a sense of peace to it, I get, for lack of a better way of saying it. You're comfortable with who you are. You're comfortable with the decisions you make. And it's hard to admit. And as I look back, I can see it, where when you're thinking of numero uno, you're uncomfortable with it, because it doesn't feel right. You can just feel it. So you got this inner struggle, so to speak, and you don't have that inner peace.
Yeah.
Where if you're doing it for others, you feel that sense of peace.
I think sometimes when I have found myself in that position, I feel anxiety. There's like an anxiousness too. Yeah. Striving is a big part of it. Yeah. And it's like, you're not allowing God to be God. It's like, correct. I'm not trusting him when I partner with that.
Yep. Exactly right. And anxiety is probably a great way to phrase that, because that's, you do. There's that inner anxiety and that inner turmoil that just doesn't feel right, and you know it.
Yep.
But a lot of times at that age, or that when you're in that mode, you just ignore it and keep moving on. You suppress it and move past it.
Right. Yep. And then God will allow you to.
Correct.
It's his loving kindness for you that he's like, you know what? We're going to look in the mirror.
Because
we're going to do some self-evaluation.
We pointed to the James thing.
3. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have James 3 up, but James 4:6 says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. And you know, if God is opposing the proud and that pride in you, he's not going to make you feel good about it, but he'll give grace to you if you humble yourself before him, and you'll feel it.
Yep. So how do humility and accountability work together in leadership?
Well, they're hand in hand, obviously. I mean, because you're accountable to God at the end of the day, and you know it. And in this book that Lee gave me, that was one of the things that it says you should start your day. You get up and you start your day and you pray and you turn everything over to God. It's at an hour later where you got to keep him present in your day. And if you don't have that accountability to yourself, it's hard to keep the humility going throughout the day. And then at the end of the day is where you kind of self-reflect. And that's, again, where that big accountability piece comes in, right? At the end of the day, you pray and say, where did I misstep today? Where could I have been better today, God?
Yep.
And that's where the accountability comes in, and a true self-reflection. And if you're being honest with yourself, you'll know where it was, and then just pray to be better the next day.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is like abiding, remaining in Christ all day long. And then when God does point out areas, it's repentance, right? Repent.
Correct.
Which is to turn from a 180, not a 360.
Correct. Not right back to it.
And then to your point, like God's grace enables us to do things we can't do on our own.
Correct.
And so he'll give us opportunities to try again. Yeah. Because that's what he does.
And when that grace comes to you, give glory to him for that.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what it's all about.
What role does listening play in leading with humility?
You have to be a good listener. You can't just hear. You got to actually listen. I've been in courses and listened to things where it talks about listening versus hearing and active listening. And active listening is it's getting rid of all the noise outside. Distractions, all the little things, and just truly listening to the person and taking that one-on-one time and listening to them. And if you don't listen to them, then how are you going to answer their question?
Right.
If there's a question in there, you can't. If you're not really listening and hearing what they're saying, it's hard to give any sort of response to the conversation. And therefore, it's your own pride coming out, answering the question, thinking you have the answer and you know what they wanted and here's what it's coming out. But you have to actually, if you listen and are hearing what they're saying, and then the humility will allow you to answer that question the way they need to hear it, not the way you need to tell them.
Right. Do you have any tips on how to get people to start practicing active listening?
No, I don't know. And again, I guess it's my own personal experience that you just develop over time. It's just a matter of really being present in the conversation. First thing is the eye contact, like we've had most of this conversation, right? Because if you're focused in on that person and they say that the nonverbal communication is, 70-75% of what you hear, right? Well, if you don't have that eye contact and you're not listening to them, it's hard to pick up on all those cues. All you're doing is hearing the words, but you're not necessarily hearing what they really mean.
Right.
So that's kind of where I start all the time. And I can tell when I'm not in the conversation because my eyes are not focused on the person. They're everywhere else but where they should be.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts for me.
I think that's something that we all have to grow in is active listening, because we can have preconceived what you think they're going to say next type thing.
Correct.
One thing that I've done is I'll repeat what I heard them say and maybe ask clarifying questions if I want to understand, like, help me understand what you meant by this.
Correct.
I've learned some of those things, but for sure, like re-saying what I heard them say so then they can say no, especially if it's in like a conflict.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it is with my children. So, but
you have to with them though.
You do. But that's been helpful because then that gives them an opportunity to, maybe they just said it in the wrong way. And then it just opens up doors for deeper conversation around it.
Yeah. Again, it's a great tool, especially if you're a little bit unclear on what they had to say, right? And how it was said. Then it's certainly good to turn that back. You do it too much and you kind of lose the emphasis of it, right?
Yeah.
The tool.
Yeah. But I do really appreciate when you are in a conversation and you can just tell if somebody's, looking everywhere else. And I'm like, then I'm just kind of done, or if you're on the phone and somebody's really busy, I'm like, you know what, let's talk later. It sounds like you got a lot going on.
Yep.
So,
how many times are you in the middle of conversation and these new Apple iWatches, they just drive me nuts because
the notifications.
The notification will come through on the watch and they'll immediately turn and look at their watch and it's like, you just feel like they're not even in the conversation, even though they may be, but it feels like they're not.
No, I think that's a good thing for us to think about is like having notifications turned off.
Yeah.
Especially when you're having a meeting or meeting somebody.
Correct. Yeah.
Just so that you can practice being present. Because I do have an Apple Watch. I'm not wearing it today, but I do. It's just like you don't even realize that you're getting pings and you just look. Yeah.
You feel the little vibration and you can't. It's really difficult not to look at it at that moment. Correct.
It is. Yeah. Yep. So, Craig, has failure ever been one of your greatest teachers in humility?
Yes and no. I look back at my life and I tend to have a short-term memory for things, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. I tend to move past whatever that was and don't feel the pain of it for very long. And just, so I think some of my biggest teachings in humility have been where I haven't brought God into my life on decisions I've need to make. And one of the big examples that I can point to is we started a business down in Texas with my wife's sister. And I don't think we ever brought God into that equation and brought God into that decision. We just made it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And 4 years later, we're realizing this isn't where we want to be. So then after that, we bring God into the equation and start praying and saying, where do you want us? Lead us. And I knew that ultimately we didn't want to raise our kids down in Austin, Texas. We wanted to, we were doing everything driving to bring them back here and raise our kids here in this community for whatever reason. That's where we felt God was drawing us back home and doing it here. And it's crazy how God can answer your prayers. And again, you hear it all the time, but I have lived it where he answers them in such a big way that you can't even imagine that happened that way. And I talked about this in our first podcast where if it wasn't for God being in the middle of this, and give a lot of credit to Peter Nelson for bringing me back to this community. I was an airline pilot at the time, and I wanted to be a commercial lender. How do you wrap your brain around that making sense? But God showed something in Peter that was in me that I may not have even seen that made sense. And so he took a chance and hired me, and it all worked out where we've moved back to Alexandria. And again, God was in the middle of that equation. So that again, those things kind of humble you a little bit, realizing you can't do this alone. You need to have him in front of all your decisions in your life and have him helping you guide your path.
Yeah.
And he did in a big way.
That is a really cool story.
And I'm here today because of it.
Right. And
talking about humility of all
banking.
things. Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
So when you went to college, did you go for aviation or did you do two majors?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. It was just a business finance degree. Started a banking in Chicago and didn't like it was a bigger corporate bank, didn't like the feel of it, didn't like Chicago. So I just decided to make career change.
And then you became a pilot.
And then I became a pilot, correct.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Flew for Masaba Airlines for 8 years. And then ultimately, again, God thing in my life. I knew I wanted to be part of my children's life. And I didn't want to miss so many of the things that if I were still a pilot, I would have missed.
Yeah.
And I had this career to fall back onto.
Yeah.
And that's where it led. Here we are today because of it. And I've never looked back once at that decision.
Yeah.
To do this.
How do you handle success without letting it shape your identity?
To me, that one's pretty easy. I mean, success isn't possible without God. And if you're truly humble and you're truly giving all the grace and the glory to God for allowing you to have the success that you've had, then that's how that whole thing works. I think it goes back to my sports analogy and just today's society. Everything is about self and your self-promotion, and so many of these athletes just pump their chest and think it's all about them. And you know, every once in a while you'll see the glory given to God. And it impresses me more when they do it at a press conference at the end and they say, you know, grace be to God and glory be to God for these things, as opposed to, you know, thumping their chests and it's all about them in society. So it's easy, right? For me, success isn't possible without God, and He's given you that. So that's where it all comes from.
Yeah. So how has your faith shaped your understanding and practice of humility?
Well, it all starts there, right? I mean, it all starts with letting go of the pride, letting go. And believe me, it's something that hasn't come easy, and I've probably stepped into it more in the last 5 to 10 years than I ever have, letting faith and just understanding God's part of the equation and his part in the equation, which is a far bigger part than we can ever understand, right? We think we understand. We only God and all His glory. We understand such a small part of it,
right?
And we'll never have it all. But faith has, I think it's led me to just really appreciate humility and just love it that much more and try and step into it every day. Like I said previously, there's a prayer I pray every morning, a litany of humility that talks about a lot of things that if you look at it, it's, less, just, it's not about you, it's about others and bringing them to God. And so it's definitely shaped my view of humility and who I am today because of it.
Yeah. Are there biblical examples or teachings that have influenced the way you lead?
Yeah, there are. There's, and it's maybe not a direct correlation, but there's so many. You can't help but read so many stories in the Bible and just see the humility pour out of these people.
Right.
And I mean, you look at Saul, now Paul, and just where he was persecuting Christians previously, turns away from that, and everything is about God and turning to God and giving Him the glory for anything you do, right? I mean, you read all his stories and it's absolutely amazing. So, it's just things like that that constantly draw me back to that give me and I don't know that I could ever get to that level, right? I mean, gosh, he's absolutely amazing individual.
Yeah.
To do that.
I've noticed a pattern too, as you read through the Bible and you see the closer the disciples get to know Jesus and afterwards, the more they're aware of their sin nature and their desperation for Him.
Correct.
There
absolutely.
is this progression. And I read an article about it, and I want to say it was about John and just his story in relationship with God.
To this,
he's just like, you just become, when you, the proximity piece, the closer you get to God, just the more aware of like I said, the more you need Him.
Yeah.
because we are, broken people.
Yeah.
And again, it's not like this unhealthy, like we were talking about earlier, but it's more of just the awareness of, wow, God, like I literally need you every moment of every day.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, great example. And I'm glad you brought it up, because you look at the disciples and it really took the death on the cross to bring them to their knees into humility. Because walking along the path to where he was leading to that, just days before, the disciples are arguing about who's more important.
Right.
I want to be at your left and your right. Who's the greatest among us?
Yep.
I mean, think about that. And God showing them the grace and just the humble heart that he had to give them that grace in those moments, knowing full well where he was headed. It's just, yeah. That's a great example.
Well, and I still wrestle with Judas and Jesus. Like, he did not withhold his love from him.
Correct.
And he knew what was going to happen. Yep. He even called him out ahead of time. It was almost like, like, absolutely. You don't have to do this.
Correct.
But Judas did.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, like, I don't know if I could love like that, knowing that somebody's about to betray me, which is going to ultimately lead me to the most excruciating death.
Correct. Yeah.
Because I love the greater, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not there. I'm not there.
No, I don't. That's a tough one.
Right.
But you think about that, and you think about the love that he still gave to Judas.
Yes.
Can't say that he doesn't want the same from us, right? He expects the same from us.
Yeah.
He expects us to do that.
I know. It's like, Lord, help me to love truly unconditionally.
Correct.
Without any conditions.
Yeah. But I think I wrap my brain around that one a little easier, because without Judas's role, it had to happen, right? It had to happen to have the end story that we have today. Yep. Without it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. So, Craig, what are signs that pride may be creeping into our leadership or workplace culture?
I think all you got to do is surf social media and you'll have the answer to that question.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's so prevalent. And today again, it just goes back to the self-promotion and how do we get ahead? And it's not necessarily thinking about each other in the equation. Mm-hmm. It's more thinking about self and the pride in yourself. And again, I think we're a very insecure society today because of that. And so much of the technology that we have today has led to the path that we're on and where we're at. So I don't think there's any turning back from it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you see it. It's so prevalent in today's society. You see it all the time. Well,
and I think pride is sneaky because it shows up in ways that you wouldn't think was pride. And unfortunately, God has had to really dismantle my heart from pride, but not in the normal ways. Like last year, it was self-sufficiency, which you wouldn't think that's pride, but it actually is. I can do it better than God can.
Exactly.
And I would have never looked at it that way because I was coming from a place of fear, but the root of it is pride.
Yep.
And there's been other moments in my life as well where God is like, we're going to deal with this. And then as I unpack it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is pride. Mm-hmm. And it's not fun.
No, but it's not fun, is it?
I'm so thankful that he reveals it because he loves me, and sin separates us from him. Talk about proximity. And those are those sneaky ones because it's not we know the 10 Commandments, right? It's not those sins that are in your face, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't kill, okay, I can do that. But then it's the enemy, the accuser, gets us to partner with these belief systems. Then again, it's we exalt ourselves before God, and that is pride.
Correct. Exactly. Yep.
And so, trust is such a big one.
Trust is.
Yeah, trusting God versus
that way.
You, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Because of past experiences, we've created a system or a belief system or whatever. And then God's going to like, nope, I actually have a better way, and you're going to trust me.
Correct.
Instead of yourself.
Yeah. And how often do we put our trust in God, right?
Yeah.
I mean, truly put our trust in God.
So I think my struggle has been like, I know the Bible, like I know the right answers, but it's getting our head and our heart connected.
Correct.
Just because it's in your head doesn't mean you actually believe it, because it's your heart.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And hoofda. That's a lot.
We all have it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. We all have the pride. We're all sinful in our own nature, and it's overcoming it each and every day.
Yep.
That makes it difficult.
So, Craig, how can leaders intentionally create cultures where humility is valued and modeled?
Well, they got to model it themselves. It all starts there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to be, you have to lead with a servant heart and humility in order to get everybody else to follow that. It's the best and number one way leaders can model it and get it to trickle down through everybody else.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it doesn't happen all the time. And it's a difficult thing. I mean, as you become a leader, and I found myself doing this, as you become a leader, you feel like you have to have all the answers and you have to do it all. Mm-hmm. And it's not. I mean, you're a team for a reason. You're all in this together. And by modeling that, that's what makes you an effective leader ultimately. Yeah.
I actually find it really refreshing when somebody's like, you know what, I actually don't have the answer, but I'm going to go find out for you. Or let's do this together.
Correct. Exactly.
That requires humility.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I especially think of that like in parenting, when kids have a ton of questions, and you don't have it figured out in parenting. You're going to make mistakes. But if we can go back to our kids and be like, you know what, I was actually wrong about that.
Yeah.
Like, will you forgive me?
Correct.
And this is what I've learned, or whatever it is. But I think that's a great place to practice humility as well.
As long as they don't use that against you, yes. Then it's all good. Correct.
Right. That's called manipulation.
Now you got to teach again, right? Now you get another teaching moment. Correct. Yeah.
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 Yes.
Yeah. No, I can tell you again, another God thing in my life is my son, as a senior in high school, wasn't sure his path, wasn't sure where his belief was or not, because he's an extremely bright kid and just couldn't intellectualize God. And of course, my wife and I prayed for that continually. And he went away to school and started taking some theology classes in school, and 100% within a year turned him around. I mean, and he's the director of music and liturgy at St. Mary's today. Mm-hmm. And he's continuing on his theology degrees, and he's teaching us things today. Talk about humility. I mean, I'm supposed to be the leader. I'm supposed to be teaching him things. Yeah. But there's so many times I'm going to him and asking him questions about, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Mm-hmm. And it is. It's truly a humbling experience. Mm-hmm. But going before him and asking him these questions, and it's just so fun to watch.
Yeah. That is. That's definitely like God answered your prayers.
100-fold.
And then just to see the transformation, it's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. God can do amazing things.
He really can.
Yep.
All right, Craig. Well, in closing, if listeners took one practical step this week toward greater humility at work, what would you encourage them to do?
Pray for it. Mm-hmm. Just pray for it. Mm-hmm. And pray for it in the morning before you start. Keep him present in your day. Think about him throughout the day as you can. If you're in the middle of a difficult task, just stop, pause, and just ask God for help. Yeah. And he will give it to you. And at the end of the day, reflect. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just keeping him present. So if you keep him present throughout your day and understand where all your gifts come from and everything you have comes from, and you keep that at the forefront, mm-hmm. and try not to lose sight of it. And I'm not perfect at this by any stretch, but that's truly what it would take. Yeah. That's where to start.
That's really great advice. And it's just so practical. Like, we all can do that.
Yeah, we can.
Because I think oftentimes we just make things so complicated. And I don't think that's God's heart. He wasn't trying to like confuse us or trick us.
No.
It's actually pretty simple.
Yeah, correct. He gave us 10 commandments. They're all pretty clear.
Yeah.
They're not hard to understand, right?
Right.
So he's not trying to trip us up. He loves us so much. He
Yeah.
wants us to just love him back.
Yeah. This was so good. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
coming
Thank you.
back and letting us re-record this conversation, Craig.
It's all good. I'm glad we were able to.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelsi.
Thank you for joining us on Faith at Work. We hope today's episode has inspired and equipped you to live out your faith in the workforce. Don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and join us next time as we continue to equip you on your journey of faith at work. Faith at Work brought to you by the Unity Foundation. Learn more at unityfoundation-alexandria.com.